I had just moved into my new apartment 3 weeks before the knock. It wasn't anything fancy, just a one-bedroom unit on the third floor of a modest brick building on the edge of town. After the mess that was my last relationship and a job that drained me day and night, I needed space, time, and quiet. This place, with its slightly creaky floors and view of the parking lot, gave me exactly that. The routine was simple. I worked remotely as a freelance editor, drank too much coffee, took long evening walks to clear my head, and avoided people unless I had to. My family called me the hermit in flannel, which was fair, considering I hadn't bothered dressing up in weeks. It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed. I remember because I was halfway through editing a chapter of a memoir about healing and forgiveness, which felt ironic considering I was still bitter over my ex's betrayal. I had just poured myself another cup of coffee, wrapped in an oversized hoodie and socks that didn't match, when I heard it, a knock. Not loud, not urgent, just simple. 3 taps. I paused. I wasn't expecting anyone. I didn't order food. No one I knew had my new address, at least not anyone I wanted to see. I hesitated before walking to the door, peeking through the peephole. A man stood there, rain trickling down his leather jacket, holding a soaked brown box. He looked familiar, not someone I knew personally, but vaguely recognizable, like I'd seen him in passing, maybe in the hallway or the building's mailroom. "Hey," he said when I opened the door a few inches, chain still on. "Sorry to bother you. I think this got delivered to your door by mistake." He held up the package with a polite smile. "I'm in 3C. You're 3B, right?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's me." He handed the box to me through the crack. "It's not mine, but it has your name on it." I looked at the label, and sure enough, it was for me. I hadn't even realized it was missing. "Thanks," I said, unchaining the door a little more. "I didn't catch your name." "Daniel," he said, brushing wet strands of hair off his forehead. "I just moved in last week." I noticed then how kind his eyes were, even tired from the rain. Something about his presence felt gentle, unassuming, real. "I'm Emily," I replied. "Thanks for the box, Daniel." "No problem," he said, stepping back. "Sorry to bug you." "You didn't," I said, without thinking. And before I could stop myself, I added, "Do you want to come in for a second?" "Dry off?" He looked surprised, hesitant, then smiled. "Sure, if you're okay with that." I made tea while he took off his jacket and shoes at the door. We talked about nothing really. How awful moving in the rain is, the strange smell in the building's hallway, how the elevator creaks a little too much to be comforting. And then the conversation drifted. He told me he was a musician, part-time at a local bar on weekends, part-time guitar teacher for kids at a community center. He had moved to the city after breaking up with someone he thought he'd marry. I told him I worked with words all day and hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. We laughed about it. And when he left an hour later, the apartment felt different, lighter. It was a simple knock, that's all, but it had shifted something. The next day, I opened my door to a note taped on the outside. It was handwritten, kind of messy, and said, "Thanks for the tea and the talk. If you ever want to hear bad music in person, I'm playing tomorrow night. No pressure, D." I smiled. I hadn't smiled like that in months. That Saturday, I found myself sitting in the back corner of a dim bar, watching Daniel sing. His voice wasn't bad, raw and real, like he wasn't trying to impress anyone. He saw me the moment I walked in and gave the faintest grin while finishing a song that made me unexpectedly emotional. Afterward, he sat beside me and we shared fries and small talk until the place started clearing out. When he walked me to my car, he didn't try anything, just looked at me like he was grateful I came. Over the next few weeks, we fell into something that felt like fate, but without pressure. Sometimes we'd meet on the balcony between our apartments just to share coffee and stories. He'd strum his guitar on his side, and I'd edit on mine, pausing only when he played something particularly beautiful. Sometimes I'd cook too much, and he'd offer to help with dishes if I let him stay for dinner. We never labeled anything. We didn't have to. One evening, I came home after visiting my parents and found a small envelope taped to my door. Inside was a ticket to a local art exhibit and a short note. "You said you used to love this kind of stuff. Go with me. No pressure. D." That phrase, "no pressure," became our little thing. It was his way of telling me he wasn't here to complicate my life, just to be part of it if I let him. At the exhibit, he barely looked at the art. He looked at me.